LPFM, Magnuson Park. Shake That Thing right there by Abe Lyman and his California Orchestra. Means it's 9 o'clock, means it's Sunday, means it's time for Jay's Radio Hour. And tonight we have a special guest on. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Ben Morgan. Should I say anything else about
Yeah,
this?
Go nuts. What do you do, and what do we have on deck for tonight?
I am a 78 collector, just like my friend Jay here. I am a little older than Jay. I'm 20 years old as of yesterday. And I have decided to select from two of my favorite artists in my collection. Both of them are jazz musicians, so to speak. The first is called Fred Hall, is his name. Fred Hall began his work in the music industry as a song plugger / pianist. He would basically just take sheet music and he would play them on the piano for people. And eventually, sometime in the early 20s, it's not known exactly when, but he formed an orchestra which began recording about 1924, and he worked his way up in the ranks of a recording company named Emerson, which was struggling a lot at the time and didn't really improve. But by 1926, early 1926, he became the musical director of Emerson Records, which basically means he was in charge of the music. So the first record we're going to have tonight is from his time with Emerson. It's called I've Got the Girl, and with a vocal by a man named Arthur Hall.
I don't even need to sell this one in. Here's I've Got the Girl by, it's a Fred Hall band, but they call themselves the California Melody Syncopators here on Space 101.1.
heart to me. Oh, those lips, oh, those eyes, oh, can't you see? She's just the kind of a girl you'd like your girl to be. Oh, I'm satisfied, so satisfied. Who wouldn't be? Who couldn't be? I've got the girl, she's just a girl for me.
Fred Sugar Hall right there, but of course they don't call him Fred Sugar Hall. They call him the California Melody Syncopators, and he's going with I've Got the Girl here on Space 101.1. What do we know about that record, Ben?
Well, it was one of those Emerson electrosonic recordings. The label, I believe, says electrosonic. The sad part about the
tiny print.
Yeah, the sad part about the Emersons is that I mentioned they were financially struggling. At this point, Emerson got onto the electric recording business much later than most of the other companies did, and this hurt them financially. But when they did finally get it, it was terrible. Nobody liked how it sounded, so the records didn't sell well at all. And then when they did eventually get a decent electric recording system going, the electric recording, it might have been hard to tell on that one, but it just comes through really quietly. The audio is very hard to hear, especially if you play them on like a wind-up phonograph. You just can't hear the audio at all. So
I'm sure people loved that.
Oh, it was terrible. And I mean, they went out of business within a year. So Fred Hall naturally had to find work elsewhere. Fortunately, this wasn't a very difficult task for him. He did, however, in late 1927, reorganize his lineup. He met a guy while he was working at Emerson called Arthur Fields, who was a giant in the recording industry. He was on a lot of World War I themed song vocals. And Arthur Fields and he formed a partnership. So while Fred Hall was reforming his orchestra, he decided to include Arthur Fields on a lot of the vocal refrains, including the next one we have. Now, real briefly, I'll go over the orchestra a bit. Fred Hall is going to add a guy named Philip D'Arcy to the violin, harmonica, and piano parts. And he also whistles on a couple records, too.
Okay.
Fred Hall himself, being a pianist, was the second piano on some of the recordings, but he also does the scat singing on a few of them. And Fred Hall will join the scat singing on this next number, which is, to this day, one of my favorite records in my collection, maybe my favorite that I still own. And Arthur Fields will do the lead vocals on this one. So would you like to introduce the number?
Sure, it's I'm Wild About Horns on Automobiles, which is a tune that I know from Harry Reeser's band because he does a knockout version, but I'm excited for this one because this one might dethrone it. And of course, it's Fred Sugar Hall and his Sugar Babes here on Space 101.1.
Has a certain horn racket nowadays. I just got a funny one that keeps me in a daze. Some folks like the opera and then others like the blues, but I like something different, and here's the one I choose. I'm wild about horns on automobiles that go ta-ta-ta-ta, ta-ta-ta-ta. I don't know what there is about one, but you can't get a girl without one. I ain't had a girlfriend for many a night. Since I got that bugle, I'm doing all right. I'm wild about horns on automobiles that go ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. But I'd like a horn on my automobile that goes. The horn I need must get the ladies, must sound just like the sugar babies. An old-fashioned siren, it don't mean a thing. Oh, I wish that I had a horn that could sing. Oh, I want a horn on my automobile that goes.
Our band of the night, and they're doing I'm Wild About Horns on automobiles that go ta-ta-ta-ta. It's Fred Sugar Hall and the Sugar Babies here on the Space 101.1. What do we know about that record, Ben?
Well, that was recorded in, I believe, November of 1928. I don't remember the exact day, but as I mentioned, the new Fred Hall lineup, they called themselves the Sugar Babies on that label, which was Oki Records. And Fred Hall kept this lineup until sometime in 1930 when he made a minor change to the trumpet section, and then the group disbanded in 1931. But until then, he continued to record for all kinds of different companies. He managed to make his way to Edison, which was at this point dwindling out in the record business and was becoming a little bit less relevant.
Notorious for recording the worst music of the 1920s.
Oh, man,
of course,
yeah.
But also Fred Sugar Hall, not to be lumped in with all the others.
But they didn't call him Fred Sugar Hall on Edison. No, they called him Arthur Fields, and they called him Arthur Fields and his Assassinators, which is a ridiculous name.
That's a good band name.
Oh man, so this next number is actually So Fields and Hall, their partnership included them composing a lot of songs together. Usually the songs they wrote were a little bit silly. This next one is called I Can't Sleep in the Movies Anymore, which was about the new talking films, which, apparently the old silent films were so silent you could fall asleep in them. Well, now...
Which is exactly what you were paying for, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, here we go. Fields and Hall are complaining about the new sound films. And they also recorded this number for a different company, too, which sort of shows just how widespread they were. They were recording the same tunes for multiple different companies, even the ones they wrote.
All right. So now we got the serious record of the night, I Can't Sleep in the Movies Anymore, by Arthur Fields and his Assassinators, they call them here on Space 101.1.
artists all rave about the good old days they do. I agree with them in many ways, don't you? I used to love the good old picture shows, the way we used to see them years ago. Then the silent drama held its sway, okay. Now they squeak and squawk, that's why I say I'm so sad and I'm so blue, I don't know just what to do. I can't sleep in the movies anymore. When the star with the baby face shouts out in a voice that's bass, I can't sleep in the movies anymore. I used to like reposing for just an hour or so, but now when I start dozing, guns go off and whistles blow, babies cry, police dogs bark, yes, I'd better try the park. I can't sleep in the movies anymore. Hubby, a wallop on the dome. They really get so clubby, it makes me feel that I'm at home. Then a theme song there must be, written just to torture me. I can't sleep in the movies anymore.
Now there's something you won't hear on the radio anywhere else. I Can't Sleep in the Movies Anymore by Arthur Fields and His Assassinators. Of course, it's not actually Arthur Fields and His Assassinators. It's
Fred Hall and His Sugar Babies. Yeah, they recorded a lot of the tunes that both of them wrote. Arthur Fields and Fred Hall wrote together. Most of their tunes weren't recorded by any other artists, but there were some exceptions. That one was actually an exception. It was recorded by the Happiness Boys, Billy Jones and Ernest Hare, as a vocal duet for Victor Records, and that one sold somewhat well. Better than, of course, that version on the Edison Needle type. One of the other songs that they wrote that I find particularly humorous is one, being a college student myself, this one always tickles my funny bone a little bit. It's called College Days, and this one is, I do apologize in advance, it's a bit of a worn copy, but this one they did for the Plaza Music Company on the Oriole label as, what does the name say? I can't...
the Hometowners.
Oh, yes, the
Hometowners. Can't peer at the
Hometowners.
label from all the way across the studio.
I can't!
Shockingly. Yeah, no, we've definitely played worse on the show, so this is a treat for the listeners. College Days by the Hometowners here on Space 101.1.
Never go to bed till late. That's what we're learning now at college. Rah, rah, rah. Ginger ale and alcohol. It makes a drink of block and fall. That's what we're learning now at college. Arithmetic is one thing that we don't know much about. No, but a little girlish figure you can always figure out. 'Cause 1 and 1 is always 2. But more than 2 will never do. That's what we're learning now at college.
College Days right there. And what did they call the band? They're the Hometowners, but it's really, of course, Fred Sugar Hall and his Sugar Babes. What do we know about that one?
Well, that was among that. I mean, there was a Fields and Hall composition. It was among the final records they made as a jazz band in 1930, and really for the rest of Fred Hall's career in the music industry. Unfortunately for him, his knack for zany novelty stuff was. It had a bit of he had a bit of trouble selling records as the Depression started. The Depression started in late 1929, and by the time that one was recorded in about January or February of 1930, record sales were just down. People would buy radios instead. It was far more affordable, and he
if you had money at all.
Oh yeah, exactly. If you had any money, and he had to change his style a little bit to keep up with the times, so to speak, and. What did he do to change? He actually didn't go more commercial with his dance music. He just changed genres pretty much entirely. By 1931, he made his final jazz records in September of 1931, and he went over to what was called city billy music. It was basically just imitation hillbilly music, and he did that until his partnership with Arthur Fields dissolved in 1942. I don't remember exactly the details of why his dispute dissolved, but some say it could have been his drinking problem. This...
He was singing about that in the last record.
Oh, that's right. They were. Yeah. Ginger ale and alcohol makes a drink. I don't remember what he says there at the end.
Cannot stall. I know that shows up in a lot of blues records.
Probably. But yeah, so this next record is actually one of his final records, if not his... It's probably from his final session. It's on the Varsity label, the Strange Varsity label from 1940, and I believe the side is Looks Like Lucy.
Oh, yes. It's Looks Like Lucy by Fields and Hall right here. Arthur Hall coming to the bright side, of course, making a country record.
And it should say the Sunday Drivers below that. That was the radio show they had at the time, and that was how most people would have known them.
Was that nationally syndicated?
Possibly.
All right.
But
we got radio history on the radio here. Looks Like Lucy by the Sunday Drivers. Fields and Hall are the stars of the Sunday Drivers here on Space 101.1.
Say, who's that coming round the bend?
Looks like Lucy, looks like Lucy.
She loved me right to the end.
Looks like Lucy Lou.
Golden hair a-hanging down, I see her eyes are blue. The gal I'm gonna take to town
Looks like Lucy Lou.
Looks like Lucy, sure enough it do. I'm looking right at Lucy Lou, she's looking at me too. Just what's on my mind. Looks like Lucy, looks like Lucy. Better gal I'd never find.
Looks like Lucy Lou.
I've been out with all the rest, guess she knows it too. Now I'll stick right to the best.
Looks like Lucy Lou.
Oh, it looks like Lucy, sure enough it do. I'm looking right at Lucy Lou, she's looking at me too.
talk about a giant lead out. That's Lucy Liu, looks like Lucy, they called it, but it's Fields and Hall. That's Arthur Fields and Fred Sugar Hall. What do we know about that one?
Well, that was one of their final records, probably their final. It was among 5 of their final commercially issued records. They all did for Varsity in 1940. By the time the band had gone country, they'd been doing country music on the radio since 1931. There are some radio transcription discs out there that collectors go nuts for, all of which feature their country music. But yeah, that was the final Fields and Hall record, pretty much. And it sounds vastly different from their earlier stuff.
Yeah, and I know you touched a little bit earlier on. So what ended up happening to, like, all of our characters? Do we know the ends of their stories?
To an extent. I haven't done a whole lot of research on all of them, but partially because the information's somewhat scarce, but I have tried. So the fiddle, harmonica, piano, whistler guy, Philip D'Arcy, he ended up getting his own orchestra around the time that Fields and Hall went country, but he stayed playing with them still. So he was kind of doing that on the side. I presume he's the same guy who's playing the fiddle and harmonica on that record, although I don't know for sure. It would not surprise me. He seems to have been such a mainstay in the band that I would not be shocked if he stayed with them for that long.
All right. Sweet. All right, so I know we're going to move on to featuring another band in just a minute, but before then, I have a couple questions I want to ask, and we also have some audience questions out there I want to throw you some softballs so the audience can familiarize themselves with you. But first, Vinyl Goblin 77 out there wants to know, how did you start collecting 78s?
Oh boy, eBay. Actually, the problem is the stuff I collect is very weird and obscure. Not necessarily hard to find, but just not exactly what everybody thinks of when they think of jazz or 78s. So I found out that eBay was probably one of the easiest places to look for the specific stuff. And occasionally I find stuff I like in thrift stores, antique stores, but yeah, eBay was how I started.
All right. And he's asking if you have Instagram. I know the answer to that is no. I assume he wants to get in contact. But how can anybody out there in Radioland get in contact with you if, let's say, they do have some Fred Sugar Hall records that they need to dispose of?
Well, I mean, I am on Facebook. I buy and sell records on Facebook. I mostly do it just to support the hobby. I'm not a businessman, but they can find me on Facebook. I'm Ben Morgan. I'm involved in a lot of the 78 groups. I shouldn't be that hard to find. I presume.
The elusive. All right. And then what are the other focuses of your collection outside of these two bands, or is this it?
Ooh, there are many other focuses. So I mentioned that Fred Hall was recording for Emerson. I have a desire to collect every single electronic Emerson record issued. There's about 154 of them, but I have probably close to 40, which is a lot considering the fact that the label is supposed to be extremely hard to find. I've gotten lucky a couple of times, but yeah, that's one of the focuses of my collection. Another major focus would be I guess this would be introducing the next artist.
Let's go for it, and then we can play some of their records.
Yeah, there would be Ben Burney. Well, actually, we shouldn't start at Ben Burney, but we'll get to Ben Burney. Jack Pettis. So Jack Pettis was a C melody saxophonist, and he started his career. He actually taught himself how to play the instrument after World War I ended, and wound up with the Friars Society Inn Orchestra in the early 20s, where he made his first records for them in 1922. He appeared on, I believe, 9 sides that they made, and then he took about a year hiatus for recording, and then he joined the Ben Burney Band. And while with them, he met this pianist named Al Goering. Al Goering was Ben Burney's second pianist, but also Ben Burney's arranger. And together, they began composing a lot of instrumental dance numbers. The first of which actually is this next number that we're about to play. Do you want to read the title?
Is Up and Atom by the Baltimore Society Orchestra. But
yes.
Of course, it's a Red Label Oriole, so it's not actually the Baltimore Society Orchestra because they never existed.
That's another thing I collect, Red Labeled Orioles. The reason is because they recorded Up and Atom for a few different labels run by the Plaza Music Company, which would have been Banner, Domino, and Regal, and all of them credit the band as Al Goring's Collegians because that
Would
was...
they be the same master, or different takes, or different recordings entirely?
Well, so that's the interesting thing. Red Orioles almost always bear a different take to the other. The other three labels have the same uniform take, but the red labeled Oriole has a different take, which makes them very... it makes that take very difficult to find because it's only on the red labeled Oriole.
Because they just felt like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not entirely clear why, but they did this for until like 1928 or 29 when they changed the label color and started issuing normal takes. But it makes a lot of those takes, it makes them out there, but very hard to find.
Works well enough for us. So, without further ado, we got the rare take of Up and Atom by the Baltimore Society Orchestra here on Space 101.1. And Adam right there by our new star band, the Baltimore Society Orchestra. But of course, that's not a real band because it is...
actually Jack Pettis' band. Normally recording as Al Goring's Collegians. That was recorded January of 1926 at the first electric recording session for the Plaza Music Company. They clearly hadn't, as you mentioned a few moments earlier, they clearly hadn't quite figured their recording system out yet, and it does sound fairly primitive compared to some of the other electric recordings we've played tonight. It kind of has, I've heard it compared to as sort of a bathroom echo sound. So that was, the lineup in that band was pretty much entirely just musicians that Jack Pettis knew in the Ben Burney band, which he was still playing with, and Ben Burney at some point probably told him, hey, you guys can just go make a record for these guys or make a few records, because they stayed with his band for several more years while they were off at the the Plaza Company making these records. And this next record here is actually one of Pettis' records with the Ben Burney Band. Now, this record was only issued in Germany. So the title on this one is called, I believe it's I'm in Love Again.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So Ben Burney recorded this number for commercial release in the U.S. with the vocal refrain. However, the German markets, for whatever reason, the Brunswick Company, which is the one that made this one, they liked issuing instrumental takes of popular numbers from America.
Well, what's your average German record buyer gonna think of getting a dance band record where he can't understand the vocal refrain?
Well, it's interesting. They probably would have not thought, they probably wouldn't, they probably would have rather heard something in their language, or they would have been fine with, an instrumental recording. So that's what Brunswick did. They did instrumental alt takes, and what this allows a Pettis fan like me to do is Jack Pettis actually goes and solos where the vocalists would have normally been.
Ooh.
So you're going to hear him on the C melody sax here, right where the vocals should normally be. That should be about a minute or a minute 20 into this recording, and he'll have a very extended solo where I believe he trades off with trumpeter Bill Moore at one point. Bill Moore was in Pettis' band for quite a while, too, after that. So without further ado,
I am really excited to hear it. I'm in Love Again, the very, very rare German exclusive take by Ben Burney's Hotel Roosevelt Orchestra with, of course, Jack Pettis on it here on Space 101.1. Ben Burney, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Hotel Roosevelt Orchestra I'll be able to see when I stop spinning the record, and they are playing I'm in Love Again, but it's not the regular take of I'm in Love Again.
It is the G take, instrumental, released in Germany only, for international consumption.
With no English vocal refrain, and you were telling me how hard those things are to track down.
Yeah, I managed to find this, an American buyer sold me this for a pretty decent deal. It's, as you heard, it's not in the best of shape. better than some of those country records, but yeah, it's those G takes are pretty tough to find. Now this next one here, Jack Pettis and his band, of course, I mentioned they recorded for the Plaza Music Company, and we played one of their, the Pettis and Goering composition, Up and Atom. Well, this is them doing a popular tune of the day, with a bit of a clever arrangement, I think. This one is not called I'm in Love Again, but I'm Back in Love Again is the name of this title.
Just to confuse record buyers.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I remember seeing this the first time. I was like, is there some typo mistake here? Like, what? And it's a different tune. It's a different tune, but I was a little confused at first. But yeah, this one, so the version of I'm in Love Again normally has a vocal duet by two guys named Scrappy Lambert and Billy Hillpot. And they're going to be doing the vocal duet on this number, which also has Eddie Lang on the guitar, Joe Venuti on the violin. I know you're a big fan of those guys.
Yeah, that gets me excited.
And it's also going to have
on every other show.
And it'll also have, so the drummer, like I said, pretty much all these guys came from Ben Burney's band. Venuti and Lang did not, but the drummer is going to be a guy named Dylan Ober, who played for Ben Burney as well, and he is going to be doing a chime solo after the vocal refrain. I think it's a chime. It might be a xylophone. Whatever it is, it's not drums. It is certainly not drums.
I'll be able to tell after the record goes on.
Yeah, you will know better than me, I'm
by
sure.
trade in house. Anyway, to continue the night of strange instruments on great jazz records, Jack Pettis and his band. And they're under their own name for the first time in a while here with I'm Back in Love Again, not to be confused with I'm in Love Again, here on Space 101.1. I'm back in love again. This dude is in love all the time. It's Jack Pettis and his band, of course, here on Jay's Radio Hour, Space 101.1. What do we know about that record?
Well, Could I tell you where I found it?
Oh yes, that's the best part of bringing in other collectors, because other collectors get to tell stories that I haven't experienced.
That is true. So I go to college in Virginia. When I started last year, my first year in college, I saw a giant listing of records on the Facebook Marketplace, all the way up in Pennsylvania. So I got a friend. We drove 4 hours up north, 4 hours down, and then we just dug through these records. There's probably close to 1,000 of them. Most of them were junk, and I was a bit new to like 78 hauls at the time, like giant hauls of collections, and I could tell it was probably picked through beforehand, but I found 3 Jack Pettis records in the lot, 2 of which were cracked and really weren't that good. Then there was this one, and I looked at it and was like, wow, this one it was really clean. It still is fairly clean. And I played it, and I was like, wow, this is just really nice. I'm surprised I've never heard this one before. It's a really nice Jack Pettis tune. He has the saxophone solo in between the bell solo by the drummer Dylan Ober. And it's just all around, and there's this very sweet vocal refrain there in the middle. It's just all around a really nice record. So that was probably one of my 5 favorite pulls from that haul.
Oh, did you get to pick through it, or did you buy the whole thing for that one record?
Well, I just bought the whole thing, sight
Yeah.
unseen, actually. And then I found that one, and I was like, well, an amazing surprise here we have.
All right. Should we lead into the next one?
Oh, yes.
Another Ben Burney and his Hotel Roosevelt Orchestra. It's When Polly Walks Through Hollyhocks. Was Hollyhocks like a department store, neighborhood?
Hollyhocks, I think, just meaning like the plants, I think, like
Oh.
hollyhocks. So do you
Okay.
mind if I say a little bit about this record?
Oh, yeah, and then I'll settle it again.
So this is actually, among Ben Burney fans, this is kind of one of the it's kind of a hidden gem, so to speak. So I've mentioned a lot that Pettis, he's this great soloist, but we've heard him only a little bit on these records. Well, this one is basically, I've heard that describes as a Pettis solo record. He never made any solo records, but if he did, this is probably would have been with. And it's with the whole Ben Burney Orchestra. This one has a Lambert and Hillpot vocal duet again, but Pettis is going to be heard pretty much throughout the entire recording. And yes, there is an instrumental G-take version of this record where he can be heard even better on it. But
no vocal refrain, 3 minute.
Oh
3 minute
yeah,
solo.
just 3 minutes of Pettis just all over this thing on the C melody saxophone. And yeah, that's what this one is. It is a really terrific record.
We're going to have to settle for 2.5 minutes of Pettis here with Ben Burney and his Hotel Roosevelt Orchestra, When Polly Walks Through Hollyhocks, here on Jay's Radio Hour Space 101.1.
When Polly walks through the hollyhocks in the moonlight, she may be blue, but not as blue as me. When Polly talks to the hollyhocks in the moonlight, I'm peeking through the gate so I can see. But I love her, and I told her in the moonlight that I was just as sorry as could be. And now, by gee, by golly, it's great with me and Polly walks to the hollyhocks with me.
Ben Burney and his Hotel Roosevelt Orchestra there with a little bit of an abrupt ending. What's that tune called? That is When Polly Walks Through Hollyhocks here on Space 101.1. What do we know about that record?
Well, the Pettis solo record. If he ever made a solo recording, it was that one with Ben Burney's. He's going for pretty much the whole 3 minutes on that one. You can hear his C melody sax all the way throughout that one. Well, Pettis was he was also capable of playing the tenor and alto and the clarinet. He didn't play those a whole lot until about 1928 or 29 is when he started playing them a bit more than the C melody sax. The C melody sax was kind of starting to fall out of favor by the end of the 20s. The only guy who really played it besides him was a far more well-known name named Frankie Trumbauer. So he was a big C melody sax player, but Pettis was really the only other noteworthy one, and he stopped playing the C melody sax by 29 or 30 because it was just the styles were changing. He was trying to keep with the times, so to speak, and that it didn't. I don't think it really helped him a whole lot because, as we'll see later, he did not record for much longer after that. But this next one up here is actually the flip to that.
Before we do that, can I ask you one question for me and all non-musicians out in the
definitely.
audience? What distinguishes a C melody sax from any other saxophone?
The pitch. The C melody sax is pitched. I don't know a whole lot about this, but I believe it's pitched in the key of C.
Okay.
And it sounds a little bit more. It's hard to describe how it sounds, but it sounds almost a little bit. It tends to come through a bit better on the microphone than most other saxophones from that era, at least from what I can tell, which is probably why it was initially preferred by some of these musicians, is it's just you can hear it better. But, of course, as microphone technology improved, there was less of a need to be heard very well above a bunch of different musicians, and I think that's part of why the C melody sax fell out of favor.
All right. So we're going to round out at least the Ben Burney part of the night. Of course, we got more Jack Pettis coming up for you guys. We're doing the other side of that German record, breaking a little bit from our chronological order theme, but we wanted to play this one too because it's just super hot. Following you around with Ben Burney's Hotel Roosevelt Orchestra here on Space 101.1. last Ben Burney of the night. Ben Burney and his Hotel Roosevelt Orchestra with the rare G take of Following You Around. Sans creepy vocal refrain.
Yeah, that would normally have a slightly creepy vocal refrain. Meant to be sweet, I'm sure, but I doubt the lyrics have aged super well.
All right. Well, we have one more hot one lined up for you guys, but it's approaching the time of the night that we do need to wind things down. So, thank you very much, Ben, for coming on the show and sharing your wonderful collection of these
Thanks, this was
two
amazing.
hot bands. Of course, if you like what you have heard, you can find me. I'm on Instagram at RadioHourJays, on Facebook at facebook.com/jays.radiohour, and on the Space 101 website at space101fm.org, where you can also find a whole lot of fascinating pictures, videos. Everybody here has fantastic shows, all volunteer programming, and everybody's coming up with something fantastic that suits whatever taste you have outside of 78s. And if you like 78s, just come here Sundays at 9, and we do appreciate if you move your mouse up to that little donate button. It keeps the shellac spinning, the transmitter transmitting, and the lights running while I'm doing the show. I would not like those to go out. And you can find Ben on YouTube at
Fred Sugar Hall fan with quotes around the sugar. It might be a little tough to find my channel, but I'm the guy with, I don't know, I have a lot of 78 videos on my channel, and I plan to upload more.
And he's buying and selling, of course, under his own name in all the 78 Facebook groups. With that, we have a great rare one to round out the night. What's it called?
It's called Swing Session in Siberia, and it's by Jack Pettis and his orchestra. But unlike the others, this one comes from the 30s. In fact, late in the 30s. This was recorded in April of 1937, I believe. And so Pettis stopped making records under his own name and band in 1930, and he took a nearly 7-year hiatus where he moved down to Hollywood to join Ben Burney's where Ben Burney was making movies there. I believe he stuck with him to an extent. He wasn't playing with Burney, but he was working with one of Burney's co-workers, which would have been Al Goering, the pianist. So he joined him down there, and the two of them composed and wrote this tune, which they recorded for the Variety label.
All right, one of those elusive ones. Well, thank you very much for bringing in all these records, and good night, folks, with Swing Session in Siberia by Jack Pettis and his orchestra. Thanks for tuning in.